Well, greetings, vinyl community, and welcome to VC Friday. Since last week, I spoke about King Crimson, and in the interim, we've had a death in the King Crimson family. I thought I'd do a little recognition of the late Jamie Muir, who appeared on only one of King Crimson's studio albums, so he didn't figure into the story I told last week, but I've been very pleased to see a lot of recognition, both online and in real life, of Jamie Muir's passing. I attended a show on this past Tuesday at the Makeout Room, a club in San Francisco, where they have jazz at the Makeout once a month, and it's actually tending more towards avant-garde and improvised music than actual jazz, but that's fine with me. And one of the performers was Mo Stiano, the composer and percussionist, who did a solo set of percussion and wildness that he dedicated to Jamie Muir. So that was really nice to see and hear. Jamie Muir was born in Edinburgh, Scotland. He actually started out as a trombone player before switching to drums, and in the Beat Club performance of King Crimson, which you can find on video, you can see him playing a bit of trombone, a little flashback to his earlier life. Jamie Muir has not a lot of records out there, and of the ones that are, I don't have very many, but I'll show what I can. At the time Jamie Muir joined King Crimson, there was only one record out there that he had performed on, and that was this first album by the Music Improvisation Company, which features legendary free improvisers from the British scene. Derek Bailey on guitar, Evan Parker on saxophone, Hugh Davies on live electronics, who had worked with Stockhausen, and Jamie Muir on percussion, as well as Christine Jeffrey on this album, doing some vocals, only on a couple of tracks. This album was released originally in 1970. This is an American copy, and it always kind of confused me because it's got a phonographic copyright date of 1974. So I thought at first that's when the album was released, but apparently that was only for this American release. The original German version was released in 1970. After the Music Improvisation Company broke up, Jamie Muir went on to do some more rock things. He was in a band called Boris that did improvising rock, not to be confused with the more recent band Boris. And he joined the African-British rock band Assegai for a time, although he doesn't appear on their albums. And while in that band, Alan Gowan, the keyboardist associated with the Canterbury scene, was also in the band, and they both, Jamie Muir and Alan Gowan, both split off to form a band called Sunship, or at least provisionally called Sunship, which is a really intriguing band. I'd love to hear them. They apparently didn't do any studio recording, but if there's any rehearsal recording out there, I'd love to have it appear, because not only did we have Alan Gowan on keyboards, Jamie Muir on percussion, but Alan Holdsworth was playing guitar, and Laurie Scott Baker was the bass player, and I believe Lynn Dobson, who was in Soft Machine, was also in Manfred Mann, a transitional version of Manfred Mann in the 60s when they had horn players. He was playing flute and saxophone. In any event, Sunship didn't last very long because Jamie Muir got the call to join King Crimson, and he appears on this marvelous album, Lark's Tongues in Aspic. There's not a lot that needs to be said because a lot of ink has been spilled about this album and a lot of videos have been made about this album, so Maybe a deep dive comes sometime in the future, but this was certainly my and many people's first awareness of Jamie Muir. Unfortunately, again, he did not last long with the band. The band was a 5-piece at this time with both Jamie Muir and Bill Bruford on percussion. But while they were performing shows in England, Jamie Muir, who just felt the call of Buddhism, decided that the music business was no longer for him, and he abruptly dropped out of the band. And a phony story was put about that he had injured himself on stage and disappeared kind of in the wake of that. Even the other band members were not told the truth, that he had gone off to join a monastery in Scotland and practice Buddhism for the rest of the 70s. During the time he was away, another album was released by the Music Improvisation Company. This was older recordings. It's titled Music Improvisation Company 1968 to 1971. And the actual recordings are specifically from 1969 and 1970. But Jamie Muir plays on this and did the cover painting. Not specifically for the album, but the cover painting was chosen by Derek Bailey to grace the album that was released in 1976. And it's the back. And this features the uniquely titled improvisation, It's tongue trapped to the rock by a limpet, the water rat succumbed to the incoming tide. In 1980, Jamie Muir returned to London, and he was in contact with Derek Bailey again. Derek Bailey, as Jamie Muir puts it, was going through a rough patch and wanted an old friend from the old days. So they got together and made a duo album, Dart Drug, that was released on the Incus label. And this is the original vinyl issue. There's a newer vinyl issue that has a completely different cover. Also a CD edition which has a color version of this cover. I would recommend ignoring the CD, which is missing about 3 minutes of music from the beginning of the album. I have no idea why they did that, but the first track is abridged on the CD release of the album. I'm not certain about the more recent reissue on vinyl on the Honest John's label. But according to Discogs, it has the same timing as the original vinyl. Also, speaking of the Honest John's label, there is this album by Company from 1981. Now, Company is a series, it's like a repertory company is the idea. So it's a collective of people who would perform in different combinations to do free improvised music. And again, it's featuring Derek Bailey and Evan Parker as kind of the central figures. But in this 1981 incarnation of Company, and they have Company weeks in England where they do these concerts. But on this 1981 version or incarnation, they do have Jamie Muir, at least on half of it, because sides 1 and 3 of this double LP are from 1981, and sides 2 and 4 are also from 1981, but about 2 weeks later, and Jamie Muir plays only on the latter set. It's a different lineup with some of the same people, but we get an inner sleeve with a full-frame picture of Jamie Muir, so that's very cool to see him without the curly mustache he had in the King Crimson days. And a couple of CD releases that didn't make it to vinyl. Again, collaborating with Evan Parker from the Music Improvisation Company. This is The Eyes Have It, which features, like the Company 1981, two different sessions with different personnel. But the first half of it is Trio by Evan Parker on saxophones, Paul Rogers, not to be confused with the singer, on double bass, and Jamie Muir on percussion and toys. This is on the Eminem label. This was recorded in 1983, but not released until 2001. Similarly, that Company 1981 album, obviously recorded in 1981, not released until 2019. And finally, the album Ghost Dance, music for a film project featuring David Cunningham of Flying Lizards, Michael Giles of the original King Crimson, whom we did talk about last week, and Jamie Muir on percussion. And that's Jamie in the center there. Once again, an album that was not released at the time it was recorded. The recordings are from 1983, and the album was released on CD in 1990. It's copyrighted 1995. Discogs claims 1996, so take your pick. So that's the last evidence I have of Jamie Muir. There are a few other albums he contributes to out there, but not a huge number of them. And by the end of the 80s, he again just didn't want to be in the music scene. He left it behind for good and went on to painting. And that's how he devoted his time. And Jamie Muir left us a few days ago. So farewell, Jamie. So, what new records do I have to show this week? Let's start off with some appetizers, because I've got some of the little ones with the big holes. Found a few interesting singles at Vinyl Solution recently, and this is, of course, White Room by Cream, 1968. I did a little video about the Best of Cream album some years back, and that was one of the first records I ever owned. So this is the same version of White Room that's on that Best of Cream, because it's the edit that's got the whole third verse missing. And this is the this is the one I was used to originally, so it was always a little weird to hear that extra verse at the end when I finally heard the complete version from Wheels of Fire. And on the B-side, Those Were the Days, another great song from Wheels of Fire. Similar Time Warp, we got Donovan and Mellow Yellow, complete with picture sleeve. This was got some additions by Jamie Muir. So I've got Jamie Muir's old copy of Mellow Yellow, and apparently it was number 50 in her 7-inch carrying case. And on the B-side, we have Sunny South Kensington. Those are the first and last songs from the American Mellow Yellow LP, which was not released in the UK. And lastly, the Rascals, People Got to Be Free, backed with My World. I actually already had this single, but I was not aware that there was a picture sleeve for it, so now I have that as well. John Greaves is known as the bass player from Henry Cow and from National Health, but as a singer on his own, this is very different from that kind of music. It's more in a ballad style, very European kind of like a chansonnier trip. A bit more Jacques Brel and Scott Walker than prog rock. This is Life Size from 2018, and John Greaves revisits some older material on here and does a lot of music that's based on literature. Part of that European feel is the fact that some of the songs are in French or Italian, and one reason for a couple of the songs being in French is that they're songs based on poems by Verlaine and Apollinaire. There's also a song with words from James Joyce's Ulysses from the Sirens chapter, which is really wonderful. There's a track that harkens back to the Q Roan album, a classic of prog rock, avant Canterbury, fusion, whatever, that John Greaves did in collaboration with Peter Blegvad and Lisa Herman. And this is a release on the Manticore label. Yes, the Manticore label is back, or has been back, on beautiful purple vinyl. And this is excellent quality vinyl. This is a real quiet pressing, great sounding album, very beautiful stuff. So John Greaves, Life Size. Also notable for a cover of the Matching Mole song, God Song, with music by Phil Miller and lyrics by the original singer of the song, Robert Wyatt.
What on earth are you doing, God? Is this some kind of joke you're playing? Is it 'cause we didn't pray? 'Cause I can't see the point of the word without the action. Are you just hot air breathing over us?
And finally, two albums that are kind of tainted by association with the New Age genre, but which I think are well worth listening to. The first is Nada by Peter Michael Hamel, not to be confused with the Van der Graaf Generator singer Peter Hamel. Peter Michael Hamel is the keyboard player who did work with the band Between in Germany. And this album contains 4 tracks, 3 on side 1 and 1 long piece on side 2. The first and last tracks being performed on 4 synthesizers, and the other 2 tracks being piano. Silence, the first of those, is for prepared piano, which is the technique pioneered by John Cage, where you put various objects on the strings of the piano so you get different sounds from each key. And the second of those, Slow Motion, is a minimalist piano solo piece that's just really, really good. The electronic pieces, in particular the Lovecraft-inspired Beyond the Wall of Sleep, nothing to do with Black Sabbath there, have something in common with the Berlin School. Beyond the Wall of Sleep, in particular, has kind of Klaus Schulze feel in the first half. It does kind of run out of gas towards the end and get a little lightweight, a little thin. This is an album originally released in, I think, 1977. This is, and it was released in Germany. This is a U.S. release from 1980 on the Celestial Harmonies label. And I think the fact that it was on the Celestial Harmonies label and so just gets dismissed as insubstantial New Age stuff is why I found this in the bargain bin, and I paid a whopping 49 cents for this really good album. I think this may even have been the very first Celestial Harmonies release, because the catalog number is CEL001. So, Nada by Peter Michael Hamel. And finally, I picked up this double LP of Kitaro and the Silk Road Suite. This is not one of Kitaro's synthesizer extravaganza albums. This is orchestral interpretations of Kitaro's composition performed by the London Symphony Orchestra and conducted by Paul Buckmaster, who gets around. You know him of Elton John fame and Rolling Stones fame, and here he is of Kitaro fame. There is some synthesizer on here, but I'm not sure that Kitaro is playing it all. I think that may be played by the guy who's credited with piano, who is Chris Cameron. In addition to the orchestra, there is a rock ensemble consisting of Chris Cameron on piano, Terry Murray on guitar, Lyle Harper on bass, and Peter Van Hook on drums. This is recorded in 1980 and released as a double LP on the German Kuckuck label, which is one of my all-time favorite label designs. I just love that colorful Kuckuck imprint. And Kuckuck is just what it sounds like. It's the German word for cuckoo. That's what I've got for you this week. Thanks very much for watching. Be well. I will talk with you again soon. Bye-bye for now.